I work in conservation Latin America.
Okay, well, glad to have you. So a little recap, we did this once a year ago. We got, what did I tell you in the car?
250 species.
250 species documented at this site. And then since then we've added like 65-ish. So if we come across things that we have planted, like the trees in the cage, we're going to code them as cultivated. We're at the City Nature Challenge right now. So this is a global event that's been going on for years. And this is the second year that the city has been participating. Last year we did one site, and this year we're doing 2 sites. So right now we're at Stuart Armstrong, looking through, categorizing and inventorying every living thing we can find. So it's kind of a friendly, fun way to get people out to our sites and explore them. We do use the information for our management purposes. And the reason why we picked this site specifically is that it's undergoing a restoration project. So we want to be able to document what's here when we're starting the project, as well as what happens in the short term and then the longer term after we start to reintroduce species. This site was dedicated in the mid-70s to a man named Stuart Armstrong, who was active in the Horticultural Society, particularly in planting of azaleas. So when you look around the site, you'll see these really vibrant pops of color right now that are from the original azalea plantings. Those aren't native, those are pretty complex hybrids that plant enthusiasts introduced to the site. They're not native to the US, but they're also not invasive, and they have a cultural importance to the city. So we're going to leave those. What we are doing is removing known invasive species to the site. So there's a lot of bush honeysuckle, English ivy, a lot of things that our residents would recognize. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back in once we have a better control on the invasives, and we're going to reintroduce native trees, shrubs, and herbaceous species, and with the aim of having this be a site where we can talk about pollinator health and how important a lot of different species are for pollinators.
So this event is part of the City Nature Challenge. It's essentially surveying the area and creating a catalog or a record of all the different plants we have here right at this moment. We're going to keep going through whenever we're here, we're probably going to have this challenge every year. It's an annual global challenge. And that way we can track what plants are disappearing, what plants are appearing. We have a lot of surprises that we found. We found a creeping Jenny over in one area, and we're thinking that was just planted all the decades back, basically in the 70s when this garden was first planted. That's a surprise. Since there's no records of a lot of these things, we don't have any idea about what's here until we actually come in here and walk around. We talked to some of the locals here. For instance, over at Circle Woods, we have pawpaws there, and we didn't know whether they were just native, they had been there for decades, or who planted them. And then until we were talking to one of the neighbors, and she said, oh yeah, they planted these 15 years ago. So creating a record now is definitely the first step going forward, to be able to say, well, this is how the environment's changing. These are the plants we have, the plants we used to have. It's a great way of also involving the community. A lot of people don't necessarily know about these smaller places. For example, Stuart Armstrong is mainly used by school kids. There's an elementary school nearby, so the kids will walk through here maybe on their way to school, or some of the teachers have had different activities they've done here. They've done projects to, feed the birds, they've taken pictures here and stuff, but we want the larger community to be able to experience this area and all the other areas within Takoma Park as well.
now.
Look at these
No, I
pawpaws.
got him. I got him.
City of Takoma
Everybody's
Park.
talking about them.
Love your pawpaws, okay? If
Yeah.
you don't know pawpaws, they are our native fruit. If you're a City of Takoma Park person, you must know your pawpaws. If you don't know your local pawpaws, please go outside. Please go outside.
So
Look at these.
I think these are male
Are there
plants.
who pollinates these?
And
And get to know your local pollinators as
These
well.
are pollinated, I think, by flies and maybe beetles. We have a star magnolia here, which I wasn't expecting. It's enormous. Usually when people have them in their yards, they get maybe 12 to 15 feet. The one we have here is probably 30 to 40 feet. It's a shame that it was covered by invasive vines. It didn't get to grow as it should have been. A few branches broke off because of the weight. But now that we've cleared a lot of the invasives, I'm excited to see how big it can actually get and how it'll bounce back, essentially. So this is sapsucker damage. It's a type of woodpecker. Even though this isn't a native tree, they still tend to have their favorite tree. So some woodpeckers will come by, go for grubs, make little holes. If they're drinking, if they're eating the sap, then it's a way for them to get food. And then the little holes they can create are also a way for certain, beetles or whatnot. Some of our native pollinators can actually make their homes in here. We're not always fond of it. This can weaken a tree and kill it if it's done in excess, but in amounts like this, if the tree is still healthy after all these years, then it's really just a benefit to the environment. It's funny that this isn't even a native tree and yet it's still playing an active role. These are all vines that were covering it up. It's almost a shame that you can see some of the branches are broken off because the vines were just so heavy and blocking out so much light that the tree basically couldn't support itself anymore. Now that we've cut all the vines back, there's so much more light that's going to be able to get in, and so the tree can finally start essentially healing and going back to how it should be. One of the evidences that a tree is struggling a little bit is often these, you can see here, these water sprouts on the side of it. Magnolias do this all the time. You can't even look at one without them making water sprouts like this, which makes pruning them kind of tough because once you cut one of the branches off, then they realize, oh, I'm being attacked, and start making all of these. And so on a lot of trees, if you notice that they're starting to make these weird little tiny branches all around the trunk of the tree, then you should look more closely. Is this tree still healthy? Is it just pruning damage or animal damage, or is there something going on? We have a few trees in the city where this is a sign that even though we can tell it's not being attacked, for example, this one has sapsucker damage. There are a few trees where they just have so much suckers on the side of them that it's indicative of that there's actually a problem with the soil. And that's a lot harder to fix. That some of these cases are, we're just watching a tree slowly decline, and then we're gonna have to pick a species that's more amenable, I guess, to the environment we're placing it in. And that's part of the, I guess, the joy of landscaping, in a sense, that there's a saying that you got to pick the right plant for the right place. Sometimes you can't know exactly what all of the different traits of the place you're putting a plant. We've had many times where we've thought something would do excellently until we realize, oh, it's actually a lot drier here. Or we came here once when it was raining, and we found, oh, there's actually a stream that forms when the water table is very high. So now we're looking at, well, we have so many more plants we can put here because the water is so moist, and that there's actually going to be a time when there's actually a short little pond here. So being able to come here multiple times a year, see what the plants are doing, see, the changing weather conditions, it gives us so many more options of plants that we can put here. And just, it's going to be, I'm excited to see how it turns out.
I came today to take pictures of plants, flowers, insects, birds, animals, and to just be part of the community. I love it. I think it really connects people with nature, and it gives people an opportunity to be outside. I saw some mosses, some fungi, a lot of beautiful flowers. Tree trunks are really beautiful too.
Well, there's a lot of exotic stuff that got planted here, for this, when it was set up as a memorial park. So there's like European hollies and this, that, and the other. There's fewer American stuff and more exotic versions of things. And it's tending to trip up the identification.
I'm at a loss there.
Trombidium.
Eastern red centipede on this one.
The thing. Look at
Yeah,
this
with
one.
the
It's
eggs.
protecting its eggs.
This tiny little centipede has eggs right next to it, and it's guarding it. It's going to be really hard to see. But the pictures are also going to be on iNaturalist.
I've been helping with the City Nature Challenge probably since 2016. I'm actually wearing my 2016 BioBlitz shirt right now. Anywhere where I've lived in Virginia, DC, and now I live in Takoma Park. So I've been doing this for a couple of years now. Well, this might not sound that fun, but we saw a dead cardinal along the stream, which is interesting to see, even if it's kind of gruesome. And just saw a really cool red centipede. So the color of the day is red.
The focus of the vegetation maintenance team is for our cultivated sites. So this is things that you would recognize around like landscapes around city buildings. We have plantings at traffic calming areas like traffic circles, things in the active playground parks. But even when we're doing that work for aesthetic reasons, we can also have an ecological impact by removing some of the invasive horticultural species, replacing them with more beneficial native species. So that's my goal with this team, is to both move the sites forward aesthetically, but also then in ways that can help our environment. There's a couple different ways that people can help us. We're only allowed to work on city-owned properties, so anything that people can do on their own sites to get rid of invasive species, that helps us by having less pressure on our sites. We also have people who come help us on like volunteer work days that we have. We have a couple other people who are what we might call site ambassadors, so they help on specific areas, mostly working on invasive plant removals. So there's a number of ways, you can do, even doing stuff on your own property helps us.
A lot of times we don't really understand how closely knit the food web is and just how it plays into the larger ecology of the environment. So for instance, we have garlic mustard here and at a lot of other sites, which is a very nasty invasive. It takes over the forest floor, it covers out everything. So we can't, in a lot of areas where we have this, we can't grow any natives at all until we successfully remove it. The other problem with that is that it's actually poisonous to a few of our native butterflies. So they think it's one of their native plants that they can just feed on and lay their eggs on, and then the caterpillars can eat it. Although it turns out it's poisonous, they can't do that. And so even just removing some of the invasive plants is an excellent start to be able to cultivate lots, not just the pollinators that we expect to visit those plants, but you never really know what caterpillar larva is going to get confused and eat this one plant thinking it's another. So once we start removing a lot of the invasives and then start growing natives, then we don't have to worry about if this one butterfly species is going to end up, slowly dying out because we missed a few plants here, or if there's some other, tree that only hosts these, two types of pollinators. If we can gradually bring these things in, then it's a lot more biodiversity that we're going to be able to achieve.
I'll be here to help with the tree. Those are usually